Hi, my name is Leanne, and I'm going to be talking about solitary confinement and why we should eliminate it from our prison system as a form of punishment. So, timeout is a form of punishment that can be given to a child for bad behavior. I remember when I was 4 or 5 years old, I was put in timeout. I had to face the wall to avoid from being distracted. I remember feeling lonely, afraid, and angry. I was only there for maybe 3 to 5 minutes the most, but it always felt like it lasted a lifetime. Well, what if this punishment and these timeouts lasted for weeks, months, or even years? Well, this is the form of punishment that is used by the prison system. Solitary confinement is a concrete cell that keeps an inmate completely isolated for an extended period of time. They are kept from any human contact whatsoever. The human mind can only be alone for so long without suffering from any damage. Solitary confinement may seem like an effective form of punishment, but it is cruel and unusual punishment because of the psychological and physical damage that it brings upon its prisoners. The practice of solitary confinement is harmful to a prisoner's well-being on all levels. An estimated 80,000 prisoners are housed in solitary confinement. Solitary confinement is also known as the SHU, which stands for Security Housing Unit. The SHU is an isolated, concrete, windowless cell that is about the size of an average bathroom or a king-size bed. So picture this king-size bed fitting a bed, toilet, and a sink. Inmates have their meals slid to them through a slit in the door. They sleep, eat, and sit alone for 22 to 24 hours a day for a number of years. Inmates in solitary are also not allowed recreation time like the rest of the general population in the prison. Their bodies do not receive any vitamin D, and they do not get the fresh air that their mind and bodies need to remain healthy. The inmates in solitary may be allowed recreation time, which is where a prisoner is handcuffed transferred from their solitary cell and walked over to another cell where they can pace back and forth for an hour, and then they have to return back to their cell. They do not get the exercise they need. They don't get to interact with any other inmates, and they're deprived of phone call and contact visits. They are being imprisoned within prison. According to the Center for Constitutional Rights, the rise in psychological problems for prisoners has risen. Social scientists are starting to see a consistent pattern of anxiety, the fear of nervous breakdowns, oversensitivity to stimuli, and confused thought processes among these inmates. This is caused by an extended period of time of isolation in the SHU. Psychologists often find the use of solitary confinement torture not because of the conditions of the cell itself, but due to the overextended period of time that these prisoners are held in solitary. Medical research shows that a lack of or denial of any human contact can be a cause of psychological effects prisoners experience. Prisoners experienced visual hallucinations, insomnia, paranoia, uncontrollable anger, and an increased risk of suicide. They developed post-traumatic stress disorder and hypersensitivity to noise and touch, among many other psychological effects. Prolonged isolation can destroy a person's mental health and their personality. Solitary confinement not only causes psychological effects, but many physical problems as well. The conditions that inmates are forced to endure on a daily basis is torture. Inmates in the SHU face horrible conditions. Inmates are sometimes beaten, abused, or taken advantage of. They are beaten, hog-tied, hit with stun guns and stun grenades. They might develop a short-term and long-term physical symptom. These symptoms can include muscle pain, chronic headaches, weight loss, and heart palpitations. Inmates with life-threatening diseases are also being neglected. There is a prisoner from Utah that's especially received cool treatment. He was locked up in solitary confinement for 5 years. And this inmate could not go anywhere without a bag over his head, being handcuffed and tethered. To add on to his already challenging sentence, he had hepatitis C. Unfortunately, he did not receive any treatment. According to the prison, his disease had not reached a life-threatening level so they felt treatment was unnecessary. A solitary inmate has to be close to death in order to receive treatment to stay alive. Inmates thrown in the SHU are neglected and completely isolated. Supporters would argue that solitary confinement is necessary in order to ensure the safety of the rest of the prison and guards. In the American justice system, the intended purpose of placing prisoners in confinement is to be used for disciplinary action or used to protect an inmate. It can provide protection for guards and some prisoners from the general population. Inmates that are considered high-risk offenders, such as murderers, child molesters, and even ex-gang members, are segregated from the rest of the prison. The purpose is to prevent a dangerous situation from happening among inmates. It is used as a tool of consequence by the prison system for negative behavior. This form of punishment, as seen by correctional officials, allows prison guards to maintain order within the prison. No inmate wants to be isolated alone for an extended period of time, so it is meant to encourage prisoners to maintain good behavior while they serve their sentence. Although solitary confinement is justified by correctional officers and officials as necessary to protect prisoners and guards from dangerous prisoners, it is often used for individuals who are seen as a threat to any prison administration in any way. An inmate may be thrown into solitary confinement because of the color of their skin, or they could be caught sharing medical or legal advice with another inmate. Or if they seem like a threat to prison administration in any way whatsoever, they could be thrown in the SHU. Being placed in solitary confinement does not relate to the crime inmates commit outside of the prison. The reasons that prisoners are placed in solitary confinement are based off crimes committed inside the institution. Prisoners are being sent to isolation for so many different reasons other than the crime that they actually committed. Prisoners thrown in the SHU are deprived of their basic human rights based under the 8th and 14th Amendment. Inmates in the SHU are deprived of any human or social interaction. They don't get to touch, feel, kiss, hug their loved ones, or come into physical contact with anyone while they're in solitary. The only physical contact they probably get is from the guards, handcuffing them. The only social contact inmates in isolation receive are glimpses of other prisoners, or they're allowed short video conferences with friends and family. People are social creatures, and we need interaction to stay mentally healthy. Communicating with other human beings meets our need of mental stimulation. Being able to converse with another person helps our mind grow. Prisoners in solitary have no one to communicate with but themselves. Imagine having to talk to only yourself for a number of years, just you facing a wall. As human beings, we are not meant to be or built to be alone. The lack of opportunity for human communication contributes to the inhumane treatment of prisoners. Solitary confinement is a form of punishment that is used by the prison system. The purpose was to discipline inmates, protect prison staff, and the general population from threatening prisoners. Is the purpose of solitary confinement still an effective form of punishment if it violates the basic human rights of these prisoners? The damage that solitary confinement brings upon a prisoner's mental and physical state is cruel and unusual punishment. Thank you.